go ahead and start.
Deal with a customer, but with you. Considering I haven't had any yet today, that's a good thing. Announcements coming to a theater near you. Our next thing. Well, we got two things. We've got a new exhibit called Entwinement, starting at the Art Center, I believe.
Called what?
Entwinement. Don't ask me what it's about, but I believe it opens tomorrow night. So there'll be a reception over there for the artists. Then on the 28th, which is a week from tomorrow, Joe Ely will be here. Heard he's great. Don't know anything about him, but they still have tickets available for him. On the 5th of May, Ari Hest will be here. I don't know anything about him, but he'll be at the Art Center on the 5th. And then the 19th, the famous John Sebastian of Loving Spoonful fame will be here in Winnsboro, talking and singing.
I'm going to leave this for you right here. 11, cover it?
Yeah, you want me to scribble?
No, I don't need. Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt you.
No, that's all right.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Business before poetry.
Business.
You have to read a business before pleasure, right?
How about a really short one?
Business before pleasure.
That's right.
Don't mix them, right?
All right. Can't see the podium? I'll switch with you. I'll switch with you. Y'all doing okay tonight?
Yes, sir.
All right.
You'll find it a fascinating read. Yeah. Don't start it at night because you'll be up all night. That's what they tell me.
Bye-bye. Enjoy Winnsboro.
Y'all have a good evening.
All right.
John Sebastian, I've gone online and checked him out, you know, what he sounded like when he was in Loving Spoonful. Of course, he was a heavy back then, but he seems like a real neat guy in his older age. And we're really looking forward to him. He's almost sold. We have a few tickets left for that. I'm going to snag one before they're sold out. And so I'm really excited about that. Others coming up this year are the DSQ Electric. They were here as part of the classical program last year. And everybody loved them so much they brought them back as a solo act, a regular act, instead of the part of the classical thing. They'll be here June 23rd. They're really, really terrific musicians, and they do very eclectic in what they play, from classical music to pop music. And then Diana Muldaur will be here on July 28th. And interestingly enough, I was on YouTube, and I happened to stumble onto Johnny Carson's first show on The Tonight Show, and she was on that program. She was right at the end, so you didn't hear her speak. She sang a couple of numbers. She's a wonderful singer. And so we were really, really be blessed to have her here in July. So that's what's coming up at the Art Center. For those of you that were unaware of it, Monday Night Live has started again. We had one this past Monday. Monday Night Live is the third Monday of the month through June. We take July and August off, and then September, October, November. We have every third Monday. There's live music. The music is free. They kind of messed up this one and didn't realize they needed to get a permit to have beer and wine served on the street, and so they couldn't do that. And so most of the restaurants didn't open up because of that, so the number of people was limited, but it's still a good event. And
Will they remember next month?
they're supposed to. We'll wait and see, but I have cards now. It gives the dates on when it is. And they will have, as the year goes on, they will have more produce. The farmers market just had an information booth just because there's hardly any produce available, but as soon as that becomes available, they'll have produce vendors out there and other crafty kind of things. So if you're interested in that, there's a card up at the county. We would take one, post it on stick it on your refrigerator so you know what the dates are. It starts at 5 o'clock in the evening, ends at 8 o'clock, or when it gets dark, or whenever people stop hanging out. Okay. Coming up the 5th of May. Some people are upset about this, but I'll tell you what it is because it's an official thing. The 5th of May, which is Cinco de Mayo, by the way, so the farmers market will be doing something special on the Cinco de Mayo. Before I get to this, tomorrow they're having their like Earth Day at farmers market, so there'll be a lot of green things and flowers and stuff. So we'll come to that 8 to noon. I think the rain will hold up until the afternoon, so we should have a good farmers market, and hopefully it'll be warmer than it's been the last 2 weeks. But anyway, May 5th, in addition to the farmers market, the Winnsboro News, the Gilbreth Memorial Library, and the Winnsboro Center for the Arts have gotten together and are hosting a festival of books. It will take place at the depot. There'll be a children's walk someplace around town at 9:30, and then various panels will start. A 10:30 panel will be on children's books. A gal named Mary Brooke Cassad will be the moderator of that. At 11:30, young adult will be the genre, and someone named Catherine Park will moderate. I don't know who any of these people are. At 2, then the lunch will be at 12:30. I don't know if they're serving lunch or whether you just have to go and fend for yourself. Probably you have to just go and storm the local restaurants and eat there. At 2 o'clock, the adult fiction mystery part with Melissa Lenhart moderating. Marion Miller will be part of that, and Catherine Perez, who's a local gal, will be part of that. At 3 o'clock, adult and Main Street to memoir, adult-oriented. A guy named Jim Ainsworth will moderate that. And it'll all be at the depot. And so if you want to participate, admission's free. It will be in the conference room there, whatever they call it, community room at the depot.
Let me add a point there. I didn't know any of this until you just read it off, but that moderator or participant in that children's book program at, I think it's the first one,
Yeah.
10 or 9 or 10, something like that.
Yeah, 10:30.
10:30. That Mary Brooke Cassad, you said, is moderating it?
Yeah, she's written several children's books.
Well, yeah, I know her.
Okay.
She's the wife of Vic Cassad, our district superintendent for the North Texas Conference East
Okay.
District, and she has a whole series of books, and they have a recurring character in each one of them. The name of the recurring character is Bluebonnet Armadillo, and it sings like Bluebonnet Armadillo goes to the Alamo, things like that. And they're very, very popular, and she is a really interesting person. I'm glad to know she's moderating that. I might even decide to go to that. Nothing that you read really kind of made me think, well, I want to be there until I heard that. And I may very well try to show up for that.
Anyway, that's the on the May 5th. Feel free to attend any or all of those parts. I was disappointed they didn't have poetry as a topic on it, but they decided not to do that. And we were out of the loop on that, so that's that. As far as my shop is concerned, I'm barring a miracle. I think I've got enough cash to keep me open until the end of June. I'm not hardly doing any business, so I'm certainly not doing enough business to if I just relied on my sales, there's no way I could possibly stay open because I'm just not selling anything right now, hardly anything. So I have liquidated my retirement account, little small as it is, and I'm going to use that money to keep open until the end of my lease, and then I'll be gone. There is always a small possibility that God may have something else in mind, and somebody may show up and give me money and say, here, I want to keep the store going for as long as we can keep it going, because it's important. I've been told by several people it's important to have my shop here because we have so little retail left in downtown Winnsboro. At least until the economy turns around and we get more people moving in and whatever, but I can't do it with no money, okay? The economy is fixed. SWEPCO will not take, gee, we're sorry your business is slow, we won't charge you for electricity for the next 3 or 4 months. They won't do that. Suddenly won't do that. My insurance company won't do that. My landlord won't do that. So, anyway, so those are my announcements. So we will be meeting here definitely next month, and in June, after that, we'll find a place. You know. I hate to shut it down. I don't know where I'm going to put all this stuff, but I'll put what I can, and we'll auction the rest off. So you may get a chance to buy that big motorcycle for a song. I don't know what you'll do with it, but
No.
anyway, I'm going to read 2 things today. I read this about 6 years ago, so most of you haven't heard it. Joe Dan heard it. I'm going to subject him to it again. I stumbled on it when I was cleaning up some stuff in my office, and so I figured, well, I've read any of my own stuff in a long time. I might as well read this again. The title of this monumental work, written by yours truly, is "Why Call a Plumber When You Can Have a Nervous Breakdown?" Again, this is based on a plumbing incident that happened at my old shop on Main Street about 6 years ago. A month ago or so, we discovered a leak in the sink. Well, it wasn't exactly in the sink, you know, but a steady drip, drip, drip. Let me think. Try as I might to turn off the tap, the drip, drip, drip persisted. So Leanne decided to set a trap by suggesting a new faucet, but I resisted. She ignored me, knowing what was best, and purchased one and handed me the bill. Great, let's call a plumber, I said, not in jest. What? She said. Do it ourselves, we will. Yoda has spoken, I thought, staring at the floor. Go right ahead, but turn off the flow. She gave me that look as she opened the door to the cupboard under the sink where the pipes go. She stuck her head inside, looked up, then turned the handle a half a turn. It's only a wing nut, one on each hookup. Glad there's no hot water, which could easily burn. Oops, she said, this needs a special tool. The wing nut's too wide for the pliers. Let me try, I said, trying not to look like a fool, as I lay on the floor, happy there were no buyers. Pulling my body up under the sink, I felt pain in my back and my knee. I need a pillow, she said, let me think. She gave me a small box. No, 'twas 3. I grunted and groaned, and I loosened the nut, finally disconnecting the hose. We pulled out the old with a pain in my gut after bumping the sink with my nose. Now it was time to put in the new one, the faucet all shiny and clean. After applying the silicone, I thought we were done, but alas, that was only a dream. We set the faucet into the holes in the sink and tried to make the connection, but I had forgotten those wing nuts. So think, was there a dumber plumber in creation? Eventually, though, we got it together, the hoses and wing nuts and all. We turned on the water. I was light as a feather. With glee, we had done it all. Drip, 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 we heard once again. All of that work, we were back where we started. She turned off the water and I looked under the sink. One wing nut was on, but the hose, it was parted. It was back on the floor, my head at the drain, tightening the wing nuts with all my might. I grunted and moaned and endured so much pain. By the time I had finished, day turned into night. The faucet's now there, installed by a nerd, sparkling and clean, and although I am sore, happily I can tell you, no one has heard the drip, drip, drip that we heard before. Venture into plumbing. I now call a plumber whenever it is a drip. This is a book that came in, you know, there's always new stuff coming in, and unfortunately there's a lot of poetry that comes into my shop up there. Shelves of poetry, I have 3 shelves of poetry. It's called The Best Loved Poems of All Time, and it's illustrated with famous drawings and paintings by all different people. And I'm just going to, at random, pick one or two of them and read them, and then pass the buck.
Let me bother you for your Monday Night Live card.
Wouldn't bother me for my Monday Night Live card. There you go.
Thank you.
Oh,
She's having a private summer back here.
okay, I can turn the AC on if you want. I've had the heat on all day.
And we wanted one of those too, anyway.
And some of the illustrations are like this. This is the famous George Surratt Sunday Afternoon at the Beach. So there's famous artwork in here. Really interesting, neat book, and it's for sale if you want. Everything's for sale here. Let me see. How about this is a short one. This is called Pippa's Song. It's by Robert Browning. You may have heard of that guy. He's written a few poems in his day. He's illustrated by a Renoir girl with a watering can and a Picasso called The Bee, which is a little bumblebee flying around some flowers. The years at the spring and days at the morn, the larks on the wing, the snails on the thorn, mornings at 7, the hillsides dew pearled, God in his heaven, all's right with the world. famous little poem by this is called Concord Hymn. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. You may have heard of him. He's also written one or two things that people remember. Concord Hymn. By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled, here once the embattled farmers stood, and fired the shot heard round the world. The foe long since in silence slept, alike the conqueror silent sleeps, and time the ruined bridge has swept down the dark stream which seaward creeps. On this green bank by the soft stream we set today a votive stone, that memory may their deed redeem, when, like our sires, our sons are gone. Spirit that made those heroes dare to die and leave their children free, bid time and nature gently spare the shaft we raise to them and thee. And I know you've heard this before, but I'll read it. This is illustrated by Matisse, called Boat. There's a poem by John Donne. It's called Death Be Not Proud, and you've heard it, I'm sure, before, especially when Kennedy was around. Death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou thinkest thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy picture be, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow. And soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and soul's delivery. Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell, and poppy or charms can make us sleep as well. And better than thy stroke, thy swellest thou then. One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. And let's get one more. I'll read two more because they're very short. Fog by Carl Sandburg. The fog comes on little cat feet, It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches and then moves on. And this is I Never Saw More, M-O-O-R, by Emily Dickinson. I never saw a moor, I never saw the sea. Yet know I how the heather looks, and what a billow be. I never spoke with God, nor visited in heaven, yet certain am I of the spot, as if the chief checks were given. Anyway, it's a great little book. It's got a lot of famous stuff in it. John Keats, A Thing of Beauty, is in here, and Robert Browning, Grow Old Along with Me, which I can relate with. Got Tennyson's Ulysses is in here. Rudyard Kipling's If.
So what is the Live Poets Society price on this treasure?
Well, it is marked at $16 whole, but you can have it for $8 because it's a coffee table type thing. $8 for this treasure.
Woo! Man.
Only at the Emporium. Any place else, it would be considerably more expensive because it's probably, I'm sure it's first. 1971, so it's old. And I shall relinquish this to the next reader.
That's me.
Eric, I believe,
Yep, that's me.
is volunteered to be the next reader.
You've been absent for a while.
Yeah,
Well, without leave.
I'm an
So
absentee.
he's been AWL.
Oh man,
That's right. I went AWOL, man.
That's it.
Yeah, sorry, I've been gone. I've been working, and I've been working out of town most of the time. So, this is a poem I just wrote actually last night. Doc's read it, and Mike actually helped me with a couple of mess ups too. So, it's called "Are We Here to ... Are we here to exist? Are we here to resist? Are we here to persist? Are we here to desist? Are we here to be blissed? Are we here to be dissed? Are we here to always have clenched fist? Are we here to have, sorry, I messed up. Are we here to misunderstand the gist? Are we here to become cyst? Are we here to be kissed? Are we here to become statistics of list? Are we here to be missed? Are we here to enjoy the miss? Are we here to be hungry and others missed? Are we here to be pissed? Are we here to become grist? Are we here to become cyst? Are we here to enjoy our tryst? Are we here to continuously twist and turn? Are we here to break our wrist? Are we here to assist? Are we here to be put on the back list? Are we here to die from blood cyst? Are we here to make checklist? Are we here to consist? Are we here to delist? Are we here to demist? Are we here to be dismissed? Are we here to be insist? Are we here to only enlist? Are we here to be put on the free list? Are we here to become frosty mist? Are we here to only insist? Are we here to be put on the price list? Are we here to be put on the short list? Are we here to be put on the sick list? Are we here to become snowy mist? Are we here to subsist? Are we here to be unkissed? Are we here to be unmissed? Are we here to be untwisted? Are we here to be the shovelist? Are we here to coexist? Are we here to be put on the melon list? Are we here to be nativist? Are we here to be put on the to be blacklisted? Are we here to be oculist? Are we here to become pilarcist? Are we here to pre-exist? Are we here to be reminisced? Are we here to be put on the waiting list? Are we here to be anthologist? Are we here to be expiatist? Are we here to be glassologist? Are we here to be put on the A list? Are we here to be put on the B list? Are we here to be numius matis? Are we here to be podiatrist? Are we here to be proctologist? Are we here to be recidivist? Are we here to become Sebascus cyst? Are we here to become... I'm going to skip a couple lines. Sorry. Are we here to be neo-positivist? Are we here to merely exist, resist, persist, insist, and desist, however we see fit to do so? That's the end piece. Thank you. That's all I got tonight.
All of the above.
All the above, yeah, and then some, right? Yeah. That's all I got right now, so. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Glad to have you back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Hopefully
I
you'll be
missed.
working local so you can.
Well, I'm trying.
You added a bit since I read it.
Huh?
You added a bit since
I added.
Yeah.
What? I thought I sent you the whole thing. I took out some.
Oh, you took
The
out
gross parts.
Maybe that's what
Remember?
It was. Maybe that's what it was.
I took
Wrote
some
one that I
stuff
haven't
out.
read recently. And
I'll show you in a second. I've read it.
A lot of these songs, I guess, that they wrote back in the day
Unless I missed.
when they were doing
I'll take a
travel,
look, 'cause I-
you know, trail rides, taking cattle to Kansas and all that. They just kept writing verse after verse after verse after verse because I'm not going to try to sing any of those because if you try to cut part of one out, it takes away from the whole story. But I've got a couple, one fairly short and one that's a little bit longer. But this one's called A Campfire Has Gone Out. Being we've lost so many friends and all that, you know, I lost a couple schoolmates and all that this past week. So this kind of blended in with what's going on. Through progress of the railroads, our occupations gone. So we will put ideas into words, our words into a song. First comes the cowboy. He is pointed for the west. Of all the pioneers, I claim the cowboys are the best. You will miss him on the roundup. It's gone. His merry shout. The cowboy has left the country and the campfire has gone out. There in the frighten, our companions, you've got to leave this land. Can't drag your loads for nothing through the gumbo and the sand. The railroads are bound to beat you when you do your level best. So give it up in the Grangers and strike out for the West. Bid them when all adoes and give them the merry shout. The cowboy has left the country and the campfire has gone out. When I think of this good old days, my eyes with tears do fill. When I think of the tin can by the fire and the coyote on the hill. I'll tell you, boys, in the days old timers stood a show. Our pockets was full of money. Not a sorrow did we know. But things have changed now. We're poorly clothed and fed. Our wagons are all broken and our ponies most all dead. Soon we will leave the country and you'll hear the angels shout, oh, here they come to heaven, the campfire's gone out.
Yeah.
That's good.
The Lomax
Romack.
collection.
Okay.
He collect.
John A. Romack.
He was a
Lomax.
field collector.
That's your cousin of a cousin?
Yeah,
Back
that's
in the
one of
day?
my cousins.
Yeah. Your cousin's cousin?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This one here, some of you heard the story. I do have a partial song that I tried to sing, but I cut some of it out, and I finally just tossed it in the trash. It's called Hell in Texas.
Oh, boy.
The devil, we're told, in hell was chained, and 1,000 years he's there remained. He never complained, nor he did even groan. but determined to start a hell of his very own, where he could torment the souls of men without being chained in a prison pen. So he asked the Lord if he had on hand anything left where he made his land. The Lord said, yes, I have plenty on hand, but I left it down on the Rio Grande. The fact is, old boy, the stuff is so poor, I don't think you could use it in hell anymore. But the devil went down to look at the truck and said, if I came as a gift, he was stuck. For after examining it carefully and well, he concluded the place was too dry for hell. So in order to get it off his hands, the Lord promised the devil to water the lands. For he had some water and rather some dregs, a regular cathartic that smelled like eggs. Hence the deed was closed and the deed was given, and the Lord went back in his home in heaven. And the devil then said, I have all I needed to make a good hell, and hence he succeeded. He began to pun thorns upon all the trees, and mixed up the sand with millions of fleas, and scattered tarantulas along all the roads, put thorns on the cactus, and burns on the toads. He lengthened the horns of the Texas steers, and put an addition on the rabbit's ears. He put a little devil in the bronco steed, and poisoned the feet of the centipede. The rattlesnake bites you. The scorpion stings. The mosquitoes delight you with the buzzing wings. The sandburrs prevail, and so do the ants. And those who are set down need half soles on their pants. The devil then said that throughout the land he managed to keep up the devil's own brand, and all would be mavericks unless they were born. The marks of the scratches, the bites, and the thorns by the score. Last paragraph. The heat in the summer is 110. Too hot for the devil and too hot for his men. The wild boar roams through the black charred chaparral. It's a hell of a place he has for hell. The red pepper grows on the banks of the Brock. The Mexicans use it with all they can cook. Just dine with one of the greasers and they'll help you shout, I've hell on the inside as well as on the out. That's all I've got. All
Mike,
waiters?
you want to hold that for me?
Yeah, point in the general direction of whoever's speaking.
Taking over? Oh, you want me to? Oh, okay. How about Hell in Texas? All right.
This.
Boy, we get them.
Yeah, you got it.
I will remind you of an event tomorrow night
Oh, gee, what's happening at
at
the quintessential church?
Tenney Chapel.
What's
Quintessential,
happening at the quintessential church, Joe Dan?
Tenney Chapel, the quintessential country church. The monthly Praise and Gospel concert, also better known maybe as Tenney Chapel Music Night. All kinds of music, instrumental, vocals, old time, popular, you name it, we have a little of it. Starts at 6:30, ends at 8, 90 minutes of free family entertainment. Doc Davis will be performing along with a few others that night.
Hey.
Yeah, you know, as Conrad was reading the report on from the Arts Center and things like that, it reminded me, I received, I don't know, it's been 2, 3, maybe even more months ago, several months ago, I got an email from a lady named, with the Art Center named Mary Geisler, and she was telling me about an art exhibit that was going to be held at the Art Center. It may have been Entwinement, the name you used for the one that starts this weekend. But anyway, she explained that it's every kind of art, you know, not just, as some people would assume, not just painting, you know. She said what we need, as she mentioned several things, and among them was the word poetry. And so I happened to be, at the time that I received that email, I was working on a poem that I have been off and on working on really for several years, off and on. And I read it here at one of its incarnations, one of its evolutions. And so as it happened, you know, she said she was inviting for people to send in contributions, and I thought, well, she said we need poetry, so you know, I just got her email address, you know, hit the reply button to the email she had sent me, and I attached this poem to it, and pushed the send button, and that was it. And then I got a reply from her saying, nice poem, you'll need to frame it and this and that, you know, all the things you have to do. And I thought to myself, okay, I'll take care of that sometime. You know, it was a long way in the future, and I figured, you know, I'll have time to do that somewhere, somehow. Well, I never thought about it again. And so I didn't do anything. And I had an email today from Mary Geisler, and it said, see the attached for the way your poem will be exhibited, and then review it and approve it. And so I looked, and there was no attachment. So that's was part of the reason that I was here in town when you were gone, and I came to do whatever that was. I was going to ask you about Skip Hughes and all that, and I thought maybe that lady at the art might be at the Art Center. You know, I'd go down there. But while I was writing you a note, leaving it on your door there, phone rang, my cell phone, and it was Mary Geisler. I tried to call her, and said, you know, I didn't get an attachment, so I can't look at this and approve it, but I'm sure it's okay, you know, because I was supposed to have done that and didn't. And so she said, well, and she said, and in the email she said, and would you read the poem Sunday at 2:30 at the artist's reception? And it was no date, you know, it didn't say next Sunday to, you know, day after tomorrow. It just said Sunday at 2:30. So I was going to ask you if you knew anything about what was going on, or which Sunday there might be. And so, but she called while you were gone, and I was writing you a little note. And so she said, okay, I'll send you the attachment. I'm sorry, I sent you the email without the attachment. So when I got home, I saw the deal, and you know, I printed it out. And she said she had added a little mockingbird to the bottom of the poem here. And so I'm going to read it again. You've all heard it, or some of you who were here the night that I read this one time. I've worked on this. This actually is based on a childhood event of mine when I was a young boy living on the Tenney farm where I grew up. Sometime in the early 40s, this would have been. And my brother, Tommy, and Tommy's 2 years younger than I, and he and I were emotionally involved with this event. And I've thought about it many times since, and Tommy and I have talked about it off and on. And at some point, I started writing this poem. and then I have spent some time changing it and revising it and this sort of thing. And you know, I've learned that a lot of poets have done that. You know, that where that after they've died, their work was gone to a university or something like that, and they find poems that this is version number 6 or whatever, you know, and then finally the final version is done, and that's the one that everybody knows. So this happened to be one that I had dated when I first started working on it. It was August 18th, 2016. By no means this was when I first started on it. This was just happened to be a time that I was working on it and put a date on it, and when I filed it on the computer. But this is the version that will be on display in the Art Center, I gather, sometime starting Sunday, and then there's an artist reception at 2:30 in which I'm supposed to read this. So I'm giving you a preview of that. This
Do we get your autograph when we come Sunday?
Yeah. Yes, Doc. So this is called To Kill a Mockingbird, Requiem and Redemption. And I put on here by Jodan Boyd, based on a never-to-be-forgotten childhood event of his and brother Tommy's life in Wood County, Texas. Poem is as follows. A chinaberry tree canopy, glossy and full leaf, oval-shaped, thinly veined, sharply tipped, serrated leaves, each like the blade of a knife, yet feathery soft, satiny, gently wind-whipped, dense and thick as a dark sand in a summer whirlwind. The gathered leaves yielded welcome song and shade. Like a giant orb, a complete coverlet of green, obscuring the tree's branches, entirely overlaid. A hushed rustle of soft, leafy sound, as that into the dark hole of absent light, fluttering on unexpected wings of morning, came the lone mockingbird in solitary flight. Vanishing into that thick cover of lush leaf, the bird came to rest somewhere inside. No sound betrayed its lonely presence. There was everywhere, yet nowhere to hide. The bird neither saw nor sensed the hunter, a mere boy armed with stone and sling. The smooth pebble, powered by rubber bands, broke the bird's stout heart, death's instant sting. The hunter's shock was sudden and sharp, filled with remorse, guilt, and intense grief, as he retrieved the fallen, innocent bird, flowing tears, his only source of relief. With the help of his brother, plans took shape to find a suitable mourning box and resting site. Soon reserved a small spot under the tree, a hole to filled with prey and a prayer contrite. Fallen to fresh earth, now covering the bird, its song eternally silenced, flight forever stilled. But with the spoken words of repentance, perhaps the hunter's redemption may be divinely willed. The chosen book of the Live Poets Society, How to Read a Poem and Fall in Love with Poetry by Edward Hirsch, our monthly paragraph. And now it is as if he can say anything about death because death is everywhere. He associates wildly, almost comically, but always extending the imagery far enough for us to decipher and interpret it. Why does he say that death also goes through the world dressed as a broom? Because he pictures it lapping the floor, sweeping away the dead bodies, because it is inside a broom even as it is inside our bones, because the bristles of a broom are like a tongue. They're similar to a needle because he's trying to incarnate images of an absence devouring everything in its path. That's our paragraph for it. Thank you again for the hosting.
Happy to be able to do it.
Thank you, Mike and Doc. Appreciate it.